So, having been in the sort of for-profit venue management and now working in the nonprofit festival space, what are there any essential differences in those two spaces? I mean, I guess sometimes I talk about it as like in the for-profit world, the job is to make money and you find a thing to do to make money. In the nonprofit world, the job is to make art and you find a way to make that sustainable. But I guess when you're doing less mainstream things, even in the for-profit world, it's similar in those ways.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, does anybody know, like, why do we have the nonprofit sector? Does anybody know? It's always a stumping question because it's so obvious that no one knows it. The nonprofit sector in this country exists because there are needs that are unmet by the for-profit sector, right? So there's some things that there is no way to set a ticket price that people would pay where it would be sustainable. So the orchestra, like if you wanted to go to the symphony, if it were for-profit, the ticket would be $1,000 or something like that, right? So what's cool about the nonprofit sector is it's essentially collective organizing around those unmet needs. And in the United States, we have the nonprofit sector because we've made the decision in democracy that we don't want the government to take care of everything, right? So really in this country, the nonprofit sector as it relates to the arts is driven by the decision that we want everyone to have the individual choice to support the arts, right? So actually, the way cultural policy works and the way the nonprofit sector works in the arts in the US is through the tax code. So if anybody's ever like, what's the cultural policy? It's our tax code because it allows individuals to make donations and write them off, right? So there's this whole structure for that. But at the end of the day, nonprofits are actually businesses. But instead of making profit, the shareholders are the community. And so the any profit that a nonprofit makes goes actually back into the organization. So nonprofits can be, and hopefully are, profitable. But the money goes back into the organization rather than being paid out to shareholders. So in a sense that it's important to know that like the Hyde Park Jazz Festival is a nonprofit, but I run a business. It's a business. I just don't give the money out to any shareholders.
Right, like it's still got to be a black number at the bottom of the sheet at the end of the year.
I still got to pay for everything that I use. I got to pay staff, got to, get all the permits, all that kind of stuff. We just don't pay any taxes to the government, and anyone that contributes money to us can take a tax write-off on their personal tax.
Right, and if you go, and a more common model like in Europe is tax money goes to pay for these cultural events. So the American version has flipped it that I get tax incentives to donate to the Hyde Park Jazz Festival, but it's much less likely to have large amounts of government money funding music festivals, for instance.
Yeah, like we have the National Endowment for the Arts, right? But it's quite small.
Although some municipalities, this kind of ties in. Chicago has quite a festival culture. It's a little bit like New Orleans. They have festivals for everything. And some of them are funded by the city, or at least partially funded by the city.